Has anyone made a deal with a friend that if they weren't married by a certain age they would marry one another and actually followed through? How did it go? My friend and I made a deal that by 30, if we are not married or in any type of relationship, we would get married. This was when I was 18 and he was 21. Well, we ended up dating when I was 23 and we got married a few weeks ago. He turned 30 this year. I think we kept our promise. I made a deal with a coworker that if we still worked the same job in 5 years we would kill each other. Luckily we found better employment and the whole killing each other was said in jest. I think. I made a deal with my best friend of 7 years. We even wrote joke, vows, and speeches. This was like 5 years ago when I was 30 and he was 26. Well, here we are. 35 and unmarried. I couldn't find anyone better, so I guess we're doing this thing. You're pretty cool. I like hanging out with you. This might as well happen. I turned 35 in April. We are getting married next year. I shit you not. When I was around 9, my best friend promised that he would marry me when we grew up, if I wanted that, so long as he didn't marry one of the millions of girls that he said would want to marry him in the future. We fell in love when we're 17. He didn't have anywhere near a million girls wanting to marry him, and now we're engaged. He's keeping his promise, but neither of us settled for each other. We love each other. Not exactly the same scenario, but my grandparents were best friends with another couple before, during World War II. The two boyfriends, later husbands, were pilots in the Royal Canadian Air Force. And they had always agreed that if something happened to the other, that the surviving one would take care of the other one's girl. And basically not leave one of them to be a single widow with no help, I guess. Well, they both survived the war, but my grandparents' friend's wife passed away some time after the war of cancer. He remained very close friends with my grandparents. When my grandfather passed away in the late 1970s, my grandmother married the surviving friend. They were married for many happy years and took care of one another until his death. It wasn't until I was like 10 years old that I found out this man, who I lovingly also call Grandpa, wasn't my grandfather by blood, but instead was the best friend of my late grandfather. I wish I could have known my real blood grandfather too, but I'm lucky to have had the grandpa I did. It was around the time that this grandpa, second grandpa, died that my parents told me the truth. Grandma is still kicking, she's 96 now. I made one with my best guy friend to be married at 30. I am 29 now and turn 30 next April. My friend would have turned 29 in March, but he passed away 2 months ago from cancer. We spoke about this when he was sick and decided to push it back to 35 to 40 so we could enjoy life more, but we were still down. I miss him every day. Not quite marriage, but back when my best friend and I were about to start college at different schools, both 18. She said she didn't want to do the distance and she wanted a fresh start before college, her response to me saying we should just date. She comes back from her freshman orientation canoe trip 2 weeks later. She went to an environmental school and said, "Fuck it, I missed you, let's date." We are happily engaged now 6 years later, smiley face. Edit. To add to the sappy romance of it, we were long distance for a few years, seeing each other only in the summer and then maybe once a month for a weekend. I proposed to her the second I saw her, when I no longer needed to live separated from her. Edit. I hope this doesn't get a lot of hate, but I only just now realized this was on our Ask Women. I honestly didn't see what sub it was. I am a man. Sorry everyone, I am a great big phony. If it helps, she is a woman at least. Actually yes, it was in 2003. We were colleagues in school, and the pact said we'd marry by 2013. I met her many years later in the tramway. We only had a moment because she was getting off. She gave me a false telephone number and that was that. I don't think I brought up the pact, we were just catching up. I was into her back then, but for the wrong reasons. I know a middle-aged punk who is married to a friend for tax reasons. He's gay, she has a boyfriend. As far as I know there haven't been any problems, they are on very good terms. Only thing I picked up is that she would like him to write a will because of his very unhealthy lifestyle. My former best friend and I did this in high school. Thought it was pretty cute at the time. 6 years later I start dating my current girlfriend, she flips out on both of us, I try to fix it, she flips out some more and now we haven't talked in a year. Sad story. Edit. Actually I'm a huge fucking asshole. I was all caught up in a new relationship and somehow just blind to the shit that was going on. My friend was in the right, and I'm a dumbass for pushing her away for an entire fucking year. I'm not quite sure what the fuck happened, or how I managed to be that big of a fucking fool, but I was. When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. I'm sorry. You always had my back and I was fucking asshole. Fuck me. Yup, in my early 20s. The person I made it with has literally ghosted me since I got married. It started as a joke, but I think he actually had some hopes there and I feel bad about confusing him. I think if someone suggests this, there's a good chance they're carrying a torch for you and pretending not to. I am still a bit hurt that he treated me this way. We'd known each other since we were teenagers, and despite him having an interest in me years ago, he swore blind it was a crush and he was over it. If I'd known he was secretly still into me, I'd have distanced myself earlier instead of staying closer. I feel a bit betrayed that he had an ulterior motive all along and lied about it. It was like, oh, you're married, there's no point me keeping up this charade anymore. No nice guy crap, but still, it's a little hurtful. Frankly, if you don't want to be with someone now, there's no point suggesting that you might in the future, even in jest. Sure, friendships can turn into love, but it's good to be very clear about your feelings and not make people feel there's a small chance you'll settle for them. It's demeaning to both sides. Edit. I decided to give the guy a hello on FB just for old time's sake and got a nice reply. Turns out he's met someone he really likes and settled down. So hopefully we'll get past this now that it's been a few years. He's one of my oldest friends and I can understand how things might have gotten a bit confused, so here's hoping it's all water under the bridge. My guy friend and I made a pact 2 years ago that we would marry each other if we're not married by the age of 35. Currently I am 24 and he's 25. We have known each other for 11 years now. I definitely would say we would make a great couple because we have the most fun together, super spontaneous. If there's ever an argument between us, it never escalates. We're great at communicating, and we have the same beliefs. Also, I know for a fact he would be a great husband, father, partner. Although, the couple thing could work out IDK if I could ever see him romantically. The marriage would definitely be platonic, and I'm not realizing time goes by super fast lol. Kind of now want to add an extra 5 years to the pact. So not quite how it went. Boot, I had a friend where we promised to marry each other if we hadn't found someone by the time he hit the age 40. He is now my husband and I think it has worked out really well, even if we ended up marrying about 2 years earlier than planned. We had ended up deciding to date and things just turned out amazingly. I did it with my friend. If by 40 we both remain free, we would marry. He is engaged already, so I guess it won't happen. I still have 10 years cheeky smiley face, edit. This can be my opportunity to move to Barcelona. My best friend and I did this when I was 18 and he was 21, in 10 years if we weren't with anyone. I'm 26 now. We dated for a year after that and it didn't quite work out. After some time away from each other, we were able to be friends again, and every once in a while one of us will be like, we've got X amount of years until that pact comes up, huh? We live in different states, but I think we both think about it more frequently than we'd like to admit. I think I would still go through with it if we lived closer and got to spend more time with each other. Edit 8 months after this post. We're dating again and disgustingly in love, so do whatever with that info.